Best countries to retire on $1,000 a month. Affordable retirement destinations and retirement planning tips are the focus of today's video. If you're interested in early retirement, retirement income planning, and budget-friendly retirement living, this guide highlights some of the cheapest countries for retirees worldwide. There are still peaceful, affordable places where retirees can enjoy a comfortable retirement lifestyle without spending a fortune or dealing with major instability. Today, we're counting down 10 countries where living on around $1,000 a month is still possible. Of course, your costs depend on your lifestyle and spending habits. This video is designed for people seeking a frugal retirement lifestyle, smart retirement advice, and practical retirement tips. Number 10. Colombia. Colombia's comeback story is very real. Cities like Medellin have transformed into vibrant, livable places, known for pleasant weather, walkable neighborhoods, and a public transit system that puts many U.S. cities to shame. Medellin's famous eternal spring climate, combined with reasonable living costs, continues to attract retirees and expats who want quality of life without overspending. Costs across Colombia remain significantly lower than in the United States, especially if you avoid tourist-heavy areas and luxury apartments marketed directly to digital nomads. In Medellin and other secondary cities, living well on about $1,000 per month is achievable, as long as you skip showcase lofts in the trendiest neighborhoods. Importantly, this does not mean sacrificing safety or comfort. There are plenty of solid, pleasant neighborhoods that offer good value without being expensive or rundown. For those still picturing Colombia through the lens of 1990s headlines, the reality today is very different. Cities like Medellin and Bogotá have changed dramatically, with improved infrastructure, safety, and culture. Medellin's outdoor lifestyle is especially striking, from public parks to nighttime skating routes that wind through the hills above the city. Subscriber Frank from Denver moved to Medellin and quickly learned about the local weather rhythms. After buying a rain jacket on his first rainy day, he didn't see rain again for over a week, then experienced nearly 6 weeks of steady rainfall. Despite that, he raves about the food, especially the fruit, saying smoothies taste like the fruit was picked minutes earlier. Typical monthly costs in Medellin are quite reasonable. A one-bedroom apartment outside the city center runs about $300 to $500. Utilities average $70 to $100. Groceries range from $70 to $220. Dining out costs $120 to $180. Local transportation runs $25 to $40, and health insurance and clinic visits average $45 to $80. Altogether, monthly living expenses typically fall between $770 and $1,190. Number 9. Mexico. Mexico is often described as the training wheels destination for American retirees moving abroad, and for good reason. Familiar groceries, solid healthcare, short flights from the U.S., and world-class food make the transition easy. The tacos alone tend to reset expectations for Mexican food everywhere else. Large metro areas like Mexico City can strain your budget if you insist on trendy neighborhoods such as Roma Norte or La Condesa, where rent inflation is relentless. However, moving just a few subway stops away, or choosing a mid-sized city like Puebla or Mérida, dramatically lowers costs. In many cases, monthly expenses rival what HOA fees alone might cost back home, without the constant rule enforcement emails. According to Numbeo, both rent and everyday living costs are significantly lower than in the United States. While central Mexico City is more expensive, non-touristy neighborhoods and smaller cities comfortably fit within a $1,000 monthly budget, provided you skip luxury extras like rooftop decks and infinity pools. Doug, a subscriber from Minnesota, moved to Mérida on the Yucatan Peninsula determined to live like a local. His first iced coffee at noon in July quickly taught him the value of siestas and industrial-strength deodorant. Despite the heat shock, he made friends with neighbors within a week and discovered that local markets sell 20 mangoes for the price of a Happy Meal back home. He now plans to stay long-term. Typical monthly costs in a city like Mérida include rent of $350 to $550 outside the city center, utilities of $70 to $100, groceries of $200 to $250, dining out for $120 to $180, local transportation at $25 to $40, healthcare at $40 to $70, and miscellaneous expenses of $50 to $80. Altogether, living costs range from approximately $855 to $1,270 per month. Number 8. Ecuador. Ecuador feels like a place where postcard scenery meets everyday affordability. It offers dramatic landscapes, walkable cities, and a cost of living that doesn't cause financial stress. Cuenca, in particular, stands out as a favorite among expats because rents remain reasonable and daily expenses are easy to manage. Utilities and food costs stay low if you live like a local, shopping at neighborhood markets instead of trying to recreate a big-box American grocery run. Fresh produce is abundant and inexpensive, and eating seasonally keeps costs even lower. Dining out is affordable, especially at local restaurants, where simple meals cost a fraction of what you'd pay in the US. Healthcare is one of Ecuador's quiet strengths. Private clinics offer good quality care at prices that won't force you to rethink retirement. Many expats are pleasantly surprised by both the professionalism and affordability of the system, especially compared to US healthcare costs. While Ecuador is sometimes overlooked, many expats who move there end up staying long-term. As with any country, there are areas you should avoid, but that's true everywhere, from Latin America to the US, Canada, and Europe. It's simply part of living in places where people gather. Subscribers Frank and Linda moved to Cuenca from Tampa with 2 suitcases and a crock pot. Within weeks, they were sharing soup with neighbors and learning local rhythms. Frank embraced the custom of shopping once, walking slowly and napping often, while Linda became known for reminding everyone to return borrowed containers. For a frugal expat, monthly costs are quite low. Rent outside Cuenca's city center typically runs $250 to $450. Utilities average $80 to $90. Eating out costs $100 to $160, and health insurance ranges from $40 to $70. Altogether, estimated monthly living expenses fall between $690 and $1,055, making Ecuador a compelling option for affordable overseas living. Number 7. Georgia. This Georgia isn't the one with Atlanta. It's the European country tucked between Eastern Europe and Western Asia, with Tbilisi as its capital. Georgia has quietly become a favorite among expats looking for affordability, culture, and a welcoming atmosphere without Western European prices. Tbilisi blends old-world charm with modern conveniences, all at a cost that still feels reasonable. While rents have increased in recent years, they remain manageable, especially outside the city center. A one-bedroom apartment beyond the core won't leave you dizzy when the rent is due, and everyday expenses like utilities and food are still budget-friendly. Georgia is known for its hospitality, and that reputation holds up in daily life. Subscriber Steve from Chicago moved to Tbilisi, convinced he would spend every weekend hiking in the nearby mountains. He bought hiking boots, posted motivational quotes, and made ambitious plans. 2 weeks later, he had gone on exactly one hike, up the hill to his neighborhood bakery. Still, he says the friendliness of the people more than makes up for any abandoned fitness goals. Locals are quick to help, welcoming regardless of where you're from, what language you speak, or what you look like. If you need assistance, or simply company, you're likely to find it. Utilities in Tbilisi remain relatively inexpensive, and fresh food is widely available at local markets and bakeries. The pace of life is relaxed, social, and centered around food, conversation, and community. Typical monthly costs reflect Georgia's strong value. A one-bedroom apartment outside Tbilisi's city center usually rents for $380 to $550 per month. Utilities average $70 to $100, and when groceries, transportation, dining out, and other essentials are included, total monthly living expenses generally fall between $830 and $1,210. For expats seeking affordability, warmth, and character, Georgia continues to stand out as a compelling option. Number 6. The Philippines. If your retirement plan includes beaches, island hopping, and learning 12 words of Tagalog before apologizing in English, the Philippines is a strong contender. If you choose one of the second-tier cities instead of Manila, you'll find a sweet spot with reasonable rent outside the city center, cheap transportation, and food that accidentally turns lunch into a 3-hour event. If you do your research, you can find plenty of great cities to move to in the Philippines. This country has been a hot spot for retired Navy veterans for decades. If you really want to see what it's like, just type "Retire to the Philippines" into YouTube, and you'll probably find no fewer than 150 former Americans living there with their Filipino wives. It's a beautiful country, and the people are wonderful. However, there are some areas you probably want to avoid. They have gorillas in the woods, and I'm not talking about the kind that eat bananas. I'm talking about the guys with AK-47s, those types of gorillas. Now, the Philippines is made up of 7,641 islands. Some of them are little more than a bunch of rocks, but it's really hard to accidentally wander onto the wrong island. Before you try to correct me, a few years ago they believed there were 7,107 islands, but after a recount, they realized there are actually 7,641. Again, some of them are just tiny spits of land. Why the change? Better satellites. Still, the Philippines is a great place to live. The people are friendly, and it's affordable. For decades, many Filipinos have come to the United States, worked jobs at places like the post office, spent 30 years building a career, and then moved back to the Philippines to live comfortably. Our old mailman once told us that was exactly what he planned to do. At the time, he lived in a small, run-down apartment in La Mirada, a town in Southern California near Los Angeles. He said that when he returned home, he was building a house and would even be able to afford a cook and household help with his pension. Now, I haven't spoken to him in 15 years, and I'm sure things have changed somewhat, but that was his plan. I doubt he ever actually hired a butler, but he insisted he could afford one there. So if you're under the impression that Americans moving to the Philippines is a new idea, it's not. People have been doing it since before World War II. Number 5. Albania. Albania offers a rare combination: European living without European price tags. For those ready to leave the Americas, it provides an affordable gateway into Europe where your wallet doesn't suffer just for crossing the Atlantic. The capital city, Tirana, still has rents far below Western European standards, and groceries and everyday expenses remain reasonable. Apartments outside the city center are especially affordable and won't force you into constant budget stress. One major perk for Americans is the generous 365-day visa-free stay. This alone has made Albania a favorite among retirees, long-stay travelers, and digital nomads who want flexibility without complex residency paperwork. The country is actively welcoming Westerners, especially retirees and remote workers who bring their income with them and contribute to the local economy. Subscriber Karen from Ohio arrived in Tirana planning to stay just 1 month. 6 months later, she knew multiple local bakers by name, had strong opinions on neighborhood politics, and considered the sidewalk cafe outside her apartment better than her old living room back home. Her advice to newcomers is simple: learn the language basics, especially "thank you" and "more cheese, please," a reflection of Albania's strong food culture and hospitality. Albania itself is a beautiful and diverse country. It has a long Adriatic coastline across from Italy, Greece to the south, and borders with Montenegro, Kosovo, and North Macedonia. While its history includes centuries under Ottoman rule and decades as a communist state, Albania has been democratic since the early 1990s and continues to modernize. Cost of living remains one of Albania's biggest advantages. Outside Tirana's city center, one-bedroom apartments typically rent for $320 to $500 per month. Utilities average $80 to $110, dining out costs around $90 to $150 monthly, and total estimated living expenses generally fall between $790 and $1,170 per month. Number 4. Vietnam. Vietnam is one of those places where frugal budgets suddenly feel impressive. While rents in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City have risen in recent years, affordable living is still easy to find outside the city centers. One-bedroom apartments, inexpensive local markets, and very cheap transportation keep overall costs comfortably low. Modern Vietnam is far removed from the images many people still associate with the country's past. Today, it is a fast-growing, energetic place with strong infrastructure and a major role in global manufacturing. Many large U.S. companies operate there, and Americans who have lived and worked in Vietnam often speak highly of the experience. That said, Vietnam is not for everyone. The climate is hot and humid, and rain is a regular part of life. Some newcomers struggle with insects and other creepy crawlies that occasionally make their way indoors. If you dislike humidity, bugs, or feeling damp much of the year, Vietnam may be a challenge. For others, the trade-off is well worth it. The beaches are stunning, the landscapes range from lush jungles to dramatic mountains, and the food scene alone convinces many people to stay long-term. Vietnam consistently ranks near the top of lists for affordable places to live. It is especially popular with retirees and long-term expats, including a noticeable number of single men from Western countries, though the expat community itself is diverse and growing. Typical monthly costs remain very reasonable. A one-bedroom apartment outside the city center usually rents for about $260 to $340. Utilities and internet run $60 to $90, groceries cost $170 to $220, and transportation and dining out are inexpensive. When everything is added together, total monthly living expenses often fall between $675 and $965. Those who want a more upscale lifestyle can live very comfortably on around $1,500 per month. Number 3. Indonesia. Indonesia is vast, diverse, and very good at tempting newcomers to overspend, especially on beachfront living. The key to affordability is resisting the siren call of central Bali, and instead looking to towns on the outskirts or one of Indonesia's many mid-sized cities. Outside premium tourist zones, daily life becomes far more budget-friendly while still offering rich culture and natural beauty. Local markets keep grocery costs low, scooters provide cheap transportation, and even cafe-filled neighborhoods can be affordable if you live like your neighbors rather than like a full-time vacationer. Walking and scooter riding are part of everyday life, so newcomers should expect strong calves and an active routine. Cost of living data across Indonesia shows wide variation, but one pattern is clear. Outside high-end tourist areas, living well on about $1,000 per month is realistic. Several analyses, including coverage by major financial publications, highlight that avoiding a few overpriced hotspots makes long-term, low-stress living very achievable. Subscriber Erica from Portland spent 2 years in Bali and described it as magical but noticeably more expensive over time. Her advice was simple and practical. Keep a rice cooker stocked, eat locally, and you can live comfortably almost anywhere in Indonesia. She also noted a clear difference between urban and rural life. Cities feel like cities everywhere, some people friendly, some indifferent. But rural areas stood out for their warmth and hospitality. Typical monthly costs in non-touristy areas remain low. A one-bedroom apartment usually rents for $250 to $400. Utilities and internet average $70 to $100. Groceries run $170 to $230. And health insurance and clinic visits generally cost $45 to $80. When transportation, dining out, and other essentials are included, total monthly expenses typically fall between $690 and $1,075. For those willing to live locally and avoid tourist traps, Indonesia offers exceptional value. Number 2. Paraguay. Paraguay is a stealth option for expats seeking affordability and low stress. Asunción, the capital, offers inexpensive basics. Rent outside the city center is very reasonable, utilities are low, and groceries won't break the budget. Despite rising prices, Paraguay remains one of the most affordable and least visited countries in South America. For Americans, life in Paraguay can feel like joining the world's friendliest witness protection program. Neighbors are welcoming, social events center around generous barbecues, and daily life has a relaxed rhythm. You quickly learn that mañana can mean tomorrow, next week, or whenever the weather decides, and navigating Asunción's traffic is an adventure in patience. Even the currency looks like monopoly money until you realize your grocery bill is just a few dollars. Wi-Fi can be spotty, and geckos may treat your kitchen like a timeshare. But the friendliness, low costs, and charm more than make up for minor inconveniences. Typical monthly expenses are extremely affordable. A one-bedroom apartment outside the city center rents for $220 to $350. Utilities run $60 to $90. Groceries cost $160 to $210, and other necessities are modest. Altogether, living comfortably in Paraguay usually totals between $605 and $925 per month, making it one of the best values for expats in South America. With its safety, warmth, and affordability, Paraguay is a quietly appealing destination for anyone looking to stretch their retirement or remote work budget without sacrificing quality of life. Number 1. Cambodia. Cambodia takes the top spot for stretching your dollar. Neighboring Vietnam, it offers incredible affordability while still providing rich culture, food, and city life. Phnom Penh is the main hub for expats, and secondary cities are even cheaper. Daily expenses, from produce to street food to basic services, are famously kind to modest budgets. Living in Cambodia is an experience. It's hot, humid, and often feels like a sauna, so fans are essential. Tuk-tuks replace cars for short trips, noodles cost a couple of dollars, and sidewalks can turn into canals during monsoon season. Expats quickly adapt to the climate and local rhythm, sweating through their shirts before lunch while enjoying a lifestyle far cheaper than in the West. Cambodia tends to attract a diverse mix of expats rather than being dominated by older single men, making it a welcoming destination for Westerners from the US, Canada, and Australia. With its affordability and relaxed pace, more Westerners are expected to discover the country in the coming years. Typical monthly costs are astonishingly low. A one-bedroom apartment outside the city center or in a secondary city rents for $200 to $320. Utilities and internet run $70 to $110. Groceries cost $150 to $200. Dining out is $90 to $140, and health insurance averages $35 to $60. Altogether, monthly living expenses usually fall between $595 and $920. Reality checks. Visa rules and long-stay regulations change frequently. Healthcare quality varies, and tourist-heavy zones cost more. Trying to replicate a U.S. lifestyle with imported brands, chain coffee, or luxury lofts will quickly blow your budget. But living like the locals, shopping at markets, using scooters or public transport, and choosing sensible apartments makes Cambodia an unbeatable option for affordable, comfortable expat life. For anyone seeking maximum value and cultural immersion, Cambodia remains the top choice.